Joining us now on the line is Ann Coulter, the best-selling author, and her latest book is Resistance is Futile. Ann, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
Good to talk to you, Howie Carr.
Well, listen, the first question is, this guy Pete Davidson, who made an ass out of himself on Saturday Night Live, making sport of a Navy SEAL who lost an eye in Afghanistan. Is this one of the guys who was at that nasty roast a couple of years ago that you were involved in?
Yes, he was.
Somebody,
a good memory.
A texter had a good memory.
In fact, the only two times people, I think, have ever heard his name was from the roast and then this weekend, for the simple reason that he is not funny, so he has to do something stupid for anyone to have heard of him. As this thing this weekend, I mean, the most offensive thing about it is there's nothing funny about it. Nothing, Howie, nothing. To say he looks like a villain in a porno movie, I don't know a lot about porno movies, but number one, do they have villains? No, he just throws in porno movies so people know, laugh now.
Right. I know. And how is it funny if you lose an eye under any circumstances, Ann?
No, not funny. I mean, God bless the Navy SEAL. But speaking as a consumer of of comedy, that's what offends me the most about it. He has never been funny. The unfunny people decided to try him out. You know, I just found out he's been on that show for years. Have you ever seen a sketch with him in it? Have you ever heard somebody say, oh, there was this funny item? Hey, did you hear this funny thing Pete Davidson said? You know why? Because he's not funny.
Yeah. I know. The obvious only skit for them to have done on Saturday night was Alec Baldwin beating the crap out of a guy over a parking space in Lower Manhattan, right?
Especially since they can get Alec Baldwin right there on their show.
Right. He doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't even violate the terms of his bail. He's not even leaving the county. You know, he just.
Right.
Although I would suggest he take an Uber up to the studios. You know, don't drive anymore, Alec, for a while. Don't want you out there cruising for a parking space.
I was initially on his side when the first story, which is often the case actually with the times he blows up and loses his temper, what he's blowing up and losing his temper over, I'm often defending him on, and I was worried it might be the case here. Because the claim in the initial stories were that he was backing into the space when this guy came zipping in and did a front parking job stealing his space. That is stealing someone's space. The guy deserves to get punched. And I would have said, thank you, Alec, for punching him. But that wasn't it at all. He had a, quote, family member, which I believe means the nanny, standing in the space trying to hold it by just standing there. And no, I'm sorry, that's not fair. You can't do that.
And so what's going to happen tomorrow? Are the Republicans going to retain control of the House of Representatives?
I have no idea. It's driving me crazy. I feel like, after there's been, some horrible like terrorist shooting or something, Paris, or the bombing at the Boston Marathon. I wish I could just, take an Ambien and wake up when it's over, because I'm just going to keep watching, hoping to learn something new, but I don't think we're going to know until tomorrow night. I really don't, and I think they're cheerleaders. I hope Republicans do well, but I don't think anybody knows. The odds are, as everyone knows, that the party in the White House loses a few dozen seats in the first midterm. That's the average, I think, is 28, for the last 100 years. And moreover, we had a lot of Republican retirements in the House because they were spooked by the media telling them, oh, there's going to be a huge blowback, you're losing your seat anyway, go get a lobbyist job, get out while the getting's good. So they
fake suppression
50 Republicans
polls
into retiring, and that's going to hurt. That hurts a lot because incumbents win about 90% of the time. On the other hand, I think short of actually keeping his promises and building the wall, Trump has done everything for this campaign right. He is absolutely right to focus on immigration. His rallies have been fantastic. He's been working really hard. And liberals have once again, exposed themselves as crazy. But like everybody else, I guess, I think the odds are we lose the House, and please God, let us hold the Senate.
Can you imagine? Steve Bannon was just on, and he was saying that he thinks the Republicans can hang on by 1 or 2 votes. Can you imagine the pressure that's going to be on the most liberal Republican if they could flip a Republican congressman so that they could take over and destroy everything that's been done in the last 2 years? I mean, it would.
Well, the good news is, as usual, I'm looking ahead to if what usually happens, and Republicans lose seat in the midterms. For one thing, do not believe the media, who did not credit Trump's message on immigration at all when he won an upset presidential election with his own party against him, with the entire media against him, with everything going against him, and massive money being spent on the other side. No, that meant nothing, that by running on building the wall and deporting illegals, we could draw no conclusions from that. But this time, when he runs on immigration, if he loses the standard number of seats the party in power loses, they're going to say, oh, it's because immigration is unpopular. And by the way, I promise you idiot Republicans will believe that. They certainly didn't get into Congress and think, wow.
Well, and didn't the Dems and the media kind of give away the game this weekend when they were all complaining that why isn't he focusing on the great job numbers, the stock market, et cetera, the consumer confidence, the GDP. So suddenly they're giving advice to a Republican about how he should campaign. Forget this immigration stuff. Forget this caravan. Meanwhile, as his black and Hispanic numbers favorability get up close to 40% as he keeps pounding away at this. I mean, obviously this is the best issue he's got going, and he knows it. He says everybody knows about the economy. All you got to do is go outside your house and you see 1 million help wanted ads. He doesn't need to talk about the economy.
It's utterly idiotic, the Paul Ryan and the House Republicans demanding that Trump talk more about the economy. People know, and plus which, if you've lost your job, I mean, people's economic circumstances are known very well to them. If you happen to be someone who's been downgraded or lost his job, you're just going to get pissed off if you keep hearing about how great the economy is. Moreover, I hear we're going for suburban women, that's the issue, that's what's going to tilt the election. They definitely don't need to hear about the economy. They need to hear about the caravan and illegal alien crime. But I was going to say the upside of what most people seem to agree is the most likely scenario. I would like it to be better than this, mostly because if the Republicans hold the House and the Senate, maybe even pick up a few seats, and I think that is a small possibility that both of those things happen, but it is a possibility. If that happens, just for the joy of election night, just for how depressed, there could be suicides at MSNBC. But assuming that small possibility does not happen, okay, if Democrats have the House, Howie, what are they going to do for the next 2 years? It's going to be the stupidest, most obnoxious investigations of Trump and Russia that Trump is going to win in a landslide in 2020.
It'll be a painful 2 years, though, Ann. You know what I mean? I mean, and again,
I think it'll be kind of fun.
Don't you want to see?
They will just
Don't you want to see all those corrupt DOJ people and FBI agents punished for how they tried to subvert the 2016 election? That's not going to happen, I don't think. If they're
we'll still have the executive branch and the Senate under the most likely scenario. But like I say, we don't know what's going to happen. We'll know tomorrow. I can't believe how close these polls are. I'm starting to think the polls don't mean very much at all in the Trump era, not necessarily for my side or against my side. I read someplace that there was one poll, I think taken in New York. They called, I think I have the numbers roughly right, they called 30,000 phone numbers in order to reach 600 people.
Right.
So how can you say, oh, but the margin of error is only 2 points? I think we really just have to wait and see.
How many people do you know who are Republicans who are going to answer truthfully a pollster? Number one, they're not going to pick up their phone.
Right.
They're going to be in that 29,400. But suppose they made a mistake and picked up the phone. Do you think they're going to tell people? I mean,
I would totally pick up the phone, but
yeah.
You are absolutely 100% right. Phrased differently, Give me a scenario where a person will not tell a pollster that they are voting Democrat.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen. Our side, yeah, there are a lot. You'll be doxxed, you'll be attacked, you might lose your job if you're head of Mozilla. There are a lot of, they create a world in which it is physically and financially dangerous to admit you support Trump, you vote Republican, and then they wonder why polls are off.
Right. I heard Rick Scott, the governor of Florida, who's running for the Senate, on a show this today, and he said that he's never been ahead in a poll.
Well, I'm really ticked off about something in Florida. They need to, here's a proposition for them. They have like 20 propositions on the ballot. One of them is, of course, allowing felons to vote. Most people I know in Florida have said, especially if they vote on election day and don't have 2 hours to look over the ballot, they've said, I'm just going to vote for the candidates, the Republicans, but I'm not going to vote on any of the propositions. I bet you something like that felons voting proposition, I bet it will get less than 50% of the total vote. And yet it will pass because you have one group, the Democrats, fanatically interested in making sure felons can vote, and the other group, normal citizens, who would vote against it if they happen to notice that proposition, but will not vote on it at all. I mean, they ought to have a rule where a proposition doesn't pass unless it gets at least 50% of the overall vote.
Well, you're on in Florida right now, Ann, and so tell people. Do you happen to remember the number of that question? Number 4. How should they vote on it? No or yes? Because sometimes these are confusingly worded.
You're right. They're pretty honest in Florida. If you take the time to read them either before you go in, I was reading how they're going to be stated on the ballot, and unlike California, they're pretty honest. Yeah. You vote no on 4.
No on
4. Should felons be allowed to vote, basically? No.
No on 4. All right.
And by the way, felons don't even mind. They're constantly polling ex-felons, released felons. What right do they want? I mean, you can probably guess this. What right do they want? They do not care about voting. What they want is the right to own a gun. This is Democrats pushing the allow felons to vote rule.
I knew the answer to that question, Ann.
Sorry, I should have paused and let you answer.
All right. Thanks, Ann Coulter. Let's keep our fingers crossed for tomorrow. Thanks.
Yes, pray for it.
And Ann is the author of the new book, Resistance is Futile.